All right, so I wanted to do a retrospective on my experiences on Hardcore Season 5, specifically for my build, the Voodoo Warlock Enlightened Spirit Tank build, which is linked on the front page of my Twitch channel to the forum post in the Warlock forums. It's a build that I posted years ago. I've been playing it for years, basically ever since Warlock came out. But this is my first time playing a first life version of it. When Warlock came out, Voodu already had about a dozen past lives. So I've never played a first life version of it. So while I've been recommending the build for hardcore for years, I never actually played it myself. And I was very, very pleased with how it played. It was extremely survivable. And I just want to talk about some of the differences, some of my experiences and the differences, the modifications that I made to the build for hardcore. Just some slight things that I changed up for hardcore. But perhaps most significantly is I played it as a chain-shaped blaster for the first 11 levels. So, Enlightened Spirit, not a very good tree prior to level 12 in my opinion. And I know a lot of people feel that way. Because you don't get your second burst until level 12. And playing an Enlightened Spirit with just an aura and one burst is pretty lame. And you don't get some really important survivability components until up here with Brilliance and Medium Armor Proficiency. And I like to, sometimes I'll do it, on my main server as early as level 9, switch to Enlightened Spirit, because I can get Medium Armor Proficiency and Brilliance to have enough points left over to get up to Staunch and Tainted Scholar. But on hardcore, I decided to wait until level 12 to switch over to my build, the Enlightened Spirit. And until then, I was just playing very defensive, staying in the back, chain shape. So I definitely recommend just sticking with a blaster for your first 11 levels if you decide to use my build on hardcore, or even on the main servers for that matter. And if you prefer cone shape, that's great. Go for it. If you like chain shape better, that's fine too. Either one of them is going to be fine for, the first 11 levels. I personally prefer, even though cone shape is a stronger shape stance, like by end game for sure, for early levels I do prefer chain shape. And I can also get Wand and Scroll Mastery, which gives me 75% extra healing out of Wands and Scrolls. It's in the same tree, Tainted Scholar, so that's great. Staunch is in Tainted Scholar. So some really nice other things too in this tree. So I went with chain. I don't have it now. Normally I would also, even though I'm a burster at this point, because I am level 20, I decided to spend my points elsewhere on hardcore. This chain shape would just be a situational use for me. So I decided to go human for the extra feat and skill points, and the only thing I went for in the human tree is Don't Count Me Out, which literally saved my life. My hardcore 5 season experience could have been over. I think at level 7. Partly because I wasn't paying attention, got caught in a double blade trap and went to like negative 21 hit points. I posted a clip of that on my YouTube channel. Without Don't Count Me Out, I would have been dead. So I definitely picked that up early on and had that pretty much the whole time. There was, one point I think at 12 when I respected Enlightened Spirit to get everything that I wanted. It was pretty tight, and I think I pulled some points out of Don't Count Me Out for like a level or two. Other than that, I've had that maxed out pretty much the whole time. And like I said, it literally saved my life. I went with the Fey Pact, and I do that on my main server as well. I really love Abundant Step-like abilities, and it comes with Misty Escape, which is really nice, which is even a better, effect than like Wings or Abundant Step, because Misty Escape literally makes you ethereal, literally lets you move right through mobs. So in situations where like maybe mobs are blocking a door or you get pinned in, you can Misty Escape right through that, and it's pretty neat. It also includes Oda's Irresistible Dance, which on my main servers, that's great single target crowd control for like a Reaper. I do play it as a tank, and I am not a DC caster. Oda's Irresistible Dance is irresistible. There's no save, so being not a DC caster, having that no save single target crowd control is pretty nice as well. And Sonic is a pretty solid damage type. Now, for purposes of hardcore, if I had to do this over again, honestly, even though I'm not a big fan of it for the live servers, for purposes of hardcore, I think I might have gone Celestial because of the buffs. You know, the whole Oda's Irresistible Dance, I barely used it. I think I used that once or twice. I mean, you don't get it to level 19. You do spend a fair bit of time at 19 on hardcore, though. I only did to 5k. So, if I was going to endgame, I was going to do the whole Reaper thing, I would have gotten more use out of it. But if you're only going to 5k, don't put a lot of stock in that, level 19 bonus spell. I think you're going to want to look at other stuff you're getting along the way. And like I said, I think if the build will work pretty much with any pact, I think I would do Celestial just for the buffs. Yeah, if you're grouping with some folks that, have complementary abilities, that can definitely influence your choice. But I think this build is definitely a solid choice, even if you want to solo. When I hit level 12 and that's when I switched over to Light Spirit, I felt invincible. And there was very little for the rest of my hardcore experience from level 12 all the way through 5,000 favor, which we did just during heroics. So I just went to 20. There was very little that could even touch me. I was running through traps. I think the toughest quest boss was like the boss of Dreaming Dark. He got a few hits on me. No big whoop. But other than that, I mean, 99% of questing, nothing was even like penetrating my buffer of temporary hit points that I was getting from both the aura and Shining Through. I barely used Staunch, even though I'm not saying don't take it, because it's definitely a great emergency heal. But reactively, I don't know that I ever used it reactively. I used it proactively a handful of times. If I knew I was going against a quest boss that I thought might hit kind of hard, I would just hit that going into it just to be safe. But didn't actually really ever need it. So generally my enhancements are just like I have posted on the build post. I did, work up over to You've Got My Back. Now on the main server, by end game, I would definitely want both Shield and Night Shield, because if You've Got My Back, then you cast Shield, it gives you 10 more PRR. You cast Night Shield, it gives you 10 more MRR. But I didn't want to go without jump. I didn't want to have a crappy jump. I didn't have the skill points to max out my jump either. So I just had Night Shield. But even earlier on, before I had a good striding item, I was choosing other spells like... Well, early on, I chose the Shield spell, although Night Shield would have been a better choice, I think, because it includes resistance bonus. But I even had chose... let's see, Expeditious Retreat at one point I was using, and I feel like there was something else in there that I wouldn't take normally. I can't remember now. Let's see, I ended up taking Suggestion, but I don't think I ever used it. I took Blur, I took D-Door, that's normal for me. Displacement, that's typical. These are my normal... Actually, Teleport wasn't my normal choice. I chose it here because Teleport makes for a great oh shit button. I had it hotkeyed. Not only that I have it hotkeyed, but I had it the specific, a destination. So if I needed to use it to get out of a quest immediately, I didn't have to sit there and hit Teleport and then choose. I could one-touch Teleport to the market. I never had to use that, but... you want to have some kind of oh shit button. Like, if the quest's going sideways, everybody's dying, you got to get out sometimes on hardcore. So whether you have, a cookie that lets you teleport, or you have the teleport spell, or even if you just are using a teleport scroll, some way to get out of dodge right now is great. So that's why I took the teleport spell. I would normally not take the teleport spell on my main server. For the level 5, I took Tensor Transformation and Protection from Elements Mass. You know, that extra elemental damage absorption is nice. And then for my level 6 spells, Arcane Tempest and Will the Banshee. The Oda's Irresistible Dance is the bonus spell for Fey Pact. So those are my normal choices. On the feat side, I believe I'm identical to what I've posted. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up my build post. But I did change the order a little bit. So since I knew I wasn't going to switch to Enlightened Spirit until 12, I didn't prioritize Maximize and Empower. So I ended up prioritizing Shield Proficiency and the Shield Mastery line. So Shield Proficiency, Shield Mastery, Improved Shield Mastery. I ended up taking Maximize, I think, still at 6. I didn't take Empower until 15, though. Normally, I would want Empower by the time I became a burster. So in this case, I would have normally wanted it by 12. But on Hardcore, it just wasn't necessary to have all the extra spell power, and I really wanted to prioritize survivability. But, you know, so I chose the same feats. I just moved Empower until 15, prioritizing the shield feats. And I will put a link to this build post in my video description. It's been in the Warlock forum for years. It's also linked on the front page of my Twitch channel. I didn't go into Epic, so there was no Epic Destiny stuff to talk about. I didn't end up taking Sleet Storm. I took Suggestion instead, but like I said, I never even used it. I never used Suggestion. Waves of Despair is the other one I normally would have taken, but I opted for Mass Protection from Elements. To give you an idea, so I'm level 19 right now. I didn't actually take 20 yet, but I've maxed out and I've got my 5,000 favor. I can take 20 anytime. So just give you a look-see at where my stats are. I'll go ahead and buff up because they might affect things a little bit. Okay, so there's, you know, I think pretty solid saves. 59 armor class was a meaningful amount of armor class. You know, it wasn't like everything was missing me or anything like that, but it was a meaningful amount of armor class in a heroic environment. And I did the con build as well, not the charisma build. And my build post is a constitution build. For my skills, I ended up with a 53 intimidate. That was plenty enough. I think I might have been failing my intim checks like on the boss of Dreaming Dark. I think there's one boss that I was failing on a little bit on low rolls. But that was about it. It was pretty much good for like 99% of stuff. UMD was another nice thing about playing with the Warlock on Hardcore. I was, you know, the Warlock has high UMD. Plus, even though I'm not a charisma build, I do make an effort to have high, you know, decent charisma items. And so, and the Warlock, like I said, has good UMD. It gets bonuses to UMD. So I was able to throw heal scrolls right away at level 9. I didn't have a 100% chance. So I think I was still using like scrolls of Cure Critical for a couple of extra levels. But I could throw a heal scroll if I wanted to. I think I might have had like a 65% chance right at level 9. And then ended up having like, you know, within a couple of levels, I was throwing heal scrolls. So that was great. And again, getting 75% extra healing out of it because of Wand and Scroll Mastery. Even though I wasn't doing a whole lot of healing, it was certainly nice to have that option to be able to help others and myself heal. with that. If I was going into epics, I don't think I would do anything different. I might dump Wand and Scroll Mastery going into epics. Everything else would probably be the same. Another change that I did here is that I wouldn't pick up resist energies on the live server. But for hardcore, I mean, that's all resistances right there. Hell yeah, give it to me. In fact, that was another spell that early on I took resist energy, but once I took this, I dumped that. This was great. I just spent 1 point in it, and to be able to just throw on my buff bar, having 30 resists to everything right, with one shot, that was great. It's 10 resists right away. It's 20 resists at level 7, and 30 resists by the time you hit 11 to all the elements. That's another slight change. I would have had this. Basically with the points that I get for taking 20, I could take that. I thought that I might take the displacement SLA so I could free up a spell slot. It wasn't necessary. I don't think I have reality bulwark on my main servers. I don't have the points. I can't remember or not, but that's 3 extra saves. Saves are huge on hardcore, so 3 more to all saves was really nice. At times, I did take a point of charisma or constitution if I needed it to get even, but it wasn't necessary. I don't have it right now just because they were already even. But it was nice to be able to have that option if I ever needed one more stat. Boom, it's available right there in the human tree. I also get Death Ward at about level 15 is when I get Tainted Lore. That's tier 4 Tainted Scholar. Death Ward is added to your spell book. Let's see, what else? Let's look at the gear. Most of my time farming out gear was done during Lobby Heroics with Feywild. I'm literally wearing a 7-piece level 5 Feywild set that I've been wearing since level 5 all the way through 5k favor. And that included the snow scale, medium armor. Now I wasn't able to wear that until I got medium armor proficiency. So when I switched, I think it's when I switched over to, when I switched over to Enlightened Spirit at 12, that's when I switched to the medium armor. I was using something else before then. I think I was just using randomly generated armor. I can't remember if I had another. I don't even think I had another piece for the 7-piece set at that point. But if I had the light armor from Feywild, I could have used that. I just don't think I had it. But yeah, 7-piece Feywild right through all of Heroics, right through all of the 5k. I did slot this up with a Sapphire Spell Agility 5. Even though I'm proficient in medium armor and I don't have any arcane spell failure from medium armor from the armor itself, I do suffer from arcane spell failure if it's from a shield. The Ferro Crystal Shield has 5% spell failure, so I was lucky enough to get one of those 5% arcane spell failure augments given to me, so that was really nice to overcome the spell failure of the Ferro Crystal Shield. Other Feywild gear included the Dead Ringers, the Belt of the Ram, and damn, did I have to farm out a lot for that thing. The Winter Court Necklace, and the Crown of Snow is awesome for just about any caster, right? I also made it a priority to farm out the Bottle of Shadows. This comes from one of the Gatekeepers quests. I can't remember which one. But it's a level 3 augment. It says level 8, but that's just because I have a Sapphire of Heavy Fortification in it. So, to have a level 3 trinket that gives +1 profane bonus to all ability scores is huge. And I kept this for level 3 all the way through 5k. Literally the highest level of named gear that I have is the Barovia Scepter and the Flightfoot Greaves. So this was, a nice tip. I wouldn't have thought of this myself, But as soon as you can run miss right at level 10, at least do it on casual just to get to the end, just so you can get your free weapon from doing Into the Mist. And so I chose the Barovian Scepter. Before that, I was using like the Prince's Scepter or the Queen's Scepter out of Feywild as like a general potency stick, and then I switched to the Barovian Scepter at 10. You can see I have it slotted up with higher radiance, but I kept using this because the insightful potency, the spell sight, and the insightful spell sight is adding more spell power beyond that. And then I also have I have Ruby Resonance 97. So that's both my main spell powers: Resonance, which is sonic; Radiance, which is my light damage and my evil damage from you take Utter Dark Blast and convert your base force eldritch damage to evil. So those are both my main spell powers for all my bursting damage and aura damage: Resonance and Radiance. The only other damage I was doing was like force damage from Arcane Tempest and some untyped damage from Tentacles. That was pretty much it. And so those were just amped up by the Barovian Scepter, as well as maximizing in power. Did make it a point to farm out the Flightfoot Greaves. I felt it really important to have freedom of movement on the hardcore server. That's not too bad of a drop. I think I got it on the second or third run. I was a little bit surprised at how much progress I was able to make in Caneth crafting. I got all the way to 200. I was doing a final push trying to get about to 210. I wanted to be able to craft the 225 shards, but I didn't quite make it. But I was able to craft some really, really cool and helpful things. Probably, if I were to do this again, I probably don't think I would go try to get past about 150 or so. But I'm going to show you some of the things that I crafted that were really, really great. So check out these goggles, Conjuration Focus 4. I could have crafted, I did get to a point where I could do Insightful Conjuration Focus, but when I crafted these, I couldn't. And I didn't really have the ingredients to recraft them. So I just put Spot 16 on there because that was something that was helpful, with my limited crafting levels. I couldn't craft everything, so Spot 16 helps me see stealthing mobs, so that's helpful for hardcore. I also have a Topaz of Conjuration that you can get for relics out of Giant Hold, and then the Diamond of Balance is just something I found for a reasonable price on the auction house here on hardcore. I already showed the augment on the armor. Here's another something that I crafted. Bracers, double slotted stuff I was able to find pretty reasonable. I actually found quite a few of them even in like pawn shops. Parrying 3, dodge 7, resistance 6. That's amazing for hardcore. Plus the 2 colored slots, Sapphire Protection 6 and Sapphire False Life 30. I got both of those augments for relics out of Giant Hold. There's Giant Hold traders that have a whole bunch of different augments that you can just trade the relics that you. And I spent a lot of time farming out the rare chests in Giant Hold, even before I got to a point where I was doing the Giant Hold quests, and those chests give relics, more relics. Even, once I got to about level 10 or 12, I was farming out rares in Giant Hold. I spent a lot of time doing that. Basically, any downtime I was doing that, because the augments are so great and helpful that you can get from those traders. I also crafted this, Con 8, Dex 8. That's huge. I found a Topaz of Proof Against Poison for cheap on the auction house. I just grabbed it because I had an empty slot and it was cheap. So just something's better than nothing kind of philosophy. Sapphire Defense 20. That's 20 PRR and MRR. That's another augment that I got from the Giant Hold traders for the relics. So sometimes it can be hard to fit both PRR and MRR in your gear set because they're split up. You have a piece of gear with PRR but not MRR, or vice versa. The augment provides very, very competitive and in some cases better numbers than you can find on named gear, because the whole rescaling balance pass, they rescaled the values on the augments. The augment stats are very competitive. Tough RPG, where's the Crown of Snow until level 29? Yeah, I do too. That's such an amazing item. I was talking about this yesterday, how when I first started playing, that would have been an epic item. To have Spell Focus Mastery +2, that would have been a level 20 Scroll Seal Shard item, like the Staff of Insight. Okay? This would have been insane to have this at level 5 back in 2010 or 2009. And even if this was a level 20 item back then, casters would have been killing their mothers to get their hands on this. This would have been an incredible piece of gear at level 20 in 2009, 2010. And it's level 5 now. Alright, so the next piece of crafted gear was Spell Save 6 and Intimidate 15 on the cloak. I was trying to get up to about crafting level 210. That would have put me in a reasonable reach to be able to put like insightful spell resistance on there. And that would have been 9 stacking spell resistance over and above the scrolls of mass spell resistance. You can get these from House J. That is a very, very meaningful amount of spell resistance for a heroic environment. It's 12 plus 1 per caster level 13, so that's 25 spell resistance from a scroll. That's a huge layer of defense in any heroic environment, especially hardcore. At level 7, you can do the single target scrolls. At level 11, you can do the mass. Because I'm a Warlock and I had pretty decent charisma as well, I was able to UMD these things right away. No problem. Highly recommend scrolls of spell resistance and mass spell resistance on hardcore. I was also using Wands of Stone Skin as a layer of defense. And Wands of Shield, because like I said earlier, when you cast the shield spell and you have You've Got My Back from Feydark Illusionist, it gives you 10 more PRR. Okay, I think I've gone over all of the gear. Let me show you some more of the augments that I made it a point to get. So I have a Topaz of Deathblock and my Flightfoot Greaves. This was literally the only thing I purchased from the store for my whole hardcore experience. Right around level 12-ish, you know, I had a swap item for Deathblock, but I didn't have it on my regular gear set. And right by the time I got to about level 12, I was like, you know, I really want to have this on my gear set. It's so important, even if you can cast Death Ward. You want to have Deathblock as a backup because there's only going to be those times as Death Ward wears off, it gets dispelled, you're near a beholder or something, and you don't want to get caught with a Finger of Death or a Phantasmal Killer or something like that because your Death Ward got dispelled. And so that was 95 points. By the time I got to that point, I had easily earned that kind of points through favor on hardcore, so, you know, hardcore would pay for it, basically. But that was literally the only thing I bought from the store for this entire experience. I did not get any kind of tomes from the store. Literally the only stat tome I have is the +2 con tome that I got from 1750 favor. I think I got a couple of +1 skill tomes from Sagas. And somebody else gave me like a +1 tome of jump. So I think I had like a +1 tome of jump, a +1 intimidate, and a +1 to like balance or something like that. And then I had the, you know, because I bought the old expansions, you know, the big bundles from years and years ago that did come with some, you know, some skill tomes and stuff like that. So I have like a couple +3 skill tomes. I think I went to like Spellcraft and I can't remember what else I did, and then, you know, as well as a +2 skill tome. So it's a little bit of extra boost to skills. Not a big deal, but I just letting you know I did start with that. Diamond of Concentration +5. It's just something I found on the auction house cheap over here on hardcore. Topaz of Striding 30. It's something I found not for cheap on hardcore, but hey, 30% striding. I didn't have to cast Expeditious Retreat anymore. It freed up a spell slot. You know, I ended up paying like 300,000 plat for something like that, but it was worth it. It was worth it to have 30% striding and to open up a spell slot. The Diamond of Strength +6 I got from the Giant Hold Relic Traders. The Sapphire of Natural Armor 8 I got from the Giant Hold Relic Traders. The Diamond of Vitality 20 I got from turning in 20 tapestries to the NPC in Upper Necropolis. There's a Diamond of Vitality on that reward list. The Sapphire of Heavy Fortification was actually given to me. Fortification, that's probably about the best source. You know, right at level 8, you can have 100% fort with the Sapphire of Heavy Fortification. I really appreciate that was given to me. You know, if you have any way to get your hands on one of those, you can get one for 12 shards from one of the collectibles traders. A couple of the collectibles traders, actually. But fortification is so important all the time, especially on hardcore. Sapphire Good Luck +1. I got that from the Giant Hold Relic traders. Diamond of Charisma 8. Also got that from the Giant Hold Relic traders. And yeah, that's everything. The Resonance 97 and the Radiance 97, I got that from the Relic traders and Giant Hold. There is one piece of gear. Let's see. Gear that I made it a point to farm out that is not part of my regular gear set. I did get the Mantle of the World Shaper. That's, 5 charges of spell absorption. I also made it a point to farm out a Jeweled Cloak. You can get that from Trial by Fire or Maze of Madness. Had to farm out quite a bit to get that, but I felt that important. We also got the Harper Pin along the way. That's great to get me out of, crowd control like web or dancing or stun or held. I did have an Illyri because that comes with the starter bundle. I did get a Twisted Talisman. I don't think I ever used that once. But, like I said, I made it a point to get the Mantle of the World Shaper and the Jeweled Cloak. We already were doing Threnel. That's guaranteed on the end reward. I farmed out Trial by Fire to Ransack and Maze of Madness many times to get that in a group. And then somebody else pulled it for me. I made it a point to get all the essential potions, of course. As soon as I could, I get, right away I didn't have any plat, but, as soon as I could, I got small stacks of Curse, Disease, Poison, Blindness Removal, and Lesser Restoration. Once I got more plat, I bought more of them, but that's so important. You got to have that stuff. I also had Scrolls of Restoration, and then when I could, Scrolls of Greater Restoration, Wands of Stone Skin, True Seeing Scrolls, GH, Teleport, Greater Teleport Scrolls. I did get the Brine Shaman Staff that has a Gust of Wind clicky on it. That's a common drop from end rewards from Heroic 3-Barrel Cove. That's just a thrower. I did like the Roderick's Wand that I got. It was nice to be able to pull out of summons. Summons are just nice aggro grabbers. But there is one piece of loot that deserves a special mention that I made it a high priority to farm out. And that is the Skullduggery Cap that comes from the end chest of the final enemy in Saltmarsh. This is an incredible item, probably the best heroic item that comes from Saltmarsh. You can throw away all of your Visors of the Fleshrender Guard now because this is a level 3 item that has 3 charges of Death Ward, and each charge lasts 10 minutes. Death Ward is huge, doubly so on hardcore. This was a big priority for me to farm out. I farmed it to Ransack, didn't pull it. I had an alt that was farming it. I was farming like crazy for this. So it shouldn't really be that rare of a drop. Maybe I just had bad luck in any event. And if you're Wisdom and Necrocaster, even better. But just for the Death Ward clicky alone, this item is absolutely huge. And I would highly recommend farming this out on hardcore. By the time I hit level 15, I was casting it from my spellbook. But until then, the Skullduggery Cap was awesome. I'll show which quests that I skipped for posterity. Pretty much did everything right up until the 15s. At that point, you can start picking and choosing because you have to hold 19. You can't do heroic questing once you're level 20. So when you're 19, you just sit at 19 for a long time and do those, those base level 15 through 19 quests. You can only do quests 4 over level, so you can do them as low as 15 at 19. So the first quest that I skipped was Proof is in the Poison. I just didn't really want to take the chance for myself and somebody else who was grouping with me at the time. I knew I didn't need the favor. in the long run, so I just decided to not take that chance. The next quest that I skipped was Promise of Fire, as well as the Price of Freedom. I do not know that quest that well. I thought the end fight was going to be in a pool of lava, but apparently the heroic one may not be like that. But I've literally only done this quest a handful of times, and the Promise of Fire, I think I've done that quest like 2 or 3 times, so I knew there's a lot of traps in there, and I just did not want to take the chance. I knew I wouldn't need it in the long run. You know, if you were going for the leaderboard for favor, obviously you'd want to get those done, but I was really just kind of going for the 5k favor, so I knew I could skip some quests. There's way over 5k favor available in Heroic. The next one that I skipped was the Dead Sea Scrolls. It had just come out. That swim, I just did not want to take the chance with that swim. I'd only done the quest once. You know, it came out right when we were at that level, pretty much. I had only done it once on the main servers. I just didn't want to take the chance with a quest that I wasn't very familiar with. The next one I skipped was Devil Assault. That's a really weird one. That's on normal difficulty, it's level 6. On hard, it's 12. And on elite, it's 18. So on hardcore, it's like, I guess people do it like, you can't even do that, I believe, over level 10. So I think people do it on hard at level 10. I'm not really sure. I just decided to skip it. I then skipped Another Man's Treasure because the swim for that one seemed like it would be horrifying, and I was like, you know, I don't even want to take the chance. Leo says hard at 10 for Devil Assault. Okay. Or do it on Epic. Tough RPG says that makes sense too. The next one I skipped was Temple of Elemental Evil. That's one of the quests I know least in the game. I've literally done it to completion twice. So I do not know that at all. I just decided to skip it. The next quest that I skipped is Slave Lords. I know there's a lot of traps and a lot of mobs, so I decided, you know, I don't even want to take the chance. So I just skipped Slave Lords. I also skipped the Twilight Forge and the Titan Awakes raid. I didn't know them well enough to lead others through it. I didn't really want to be responsible for anybody else's death. I tried looking for LFMs of it when I was at that level. Didn't find one, so we just ended up skipping it. I totally would have joined an LFM for it. I didn't want to lead it because I'm not proficient enough with that raid and pre-raid to feel comfortable to do it and lead others through it on hardcore. Alright, the next one that I skipped was Toxic Treatment. You know, the end fight has got the Beholder, all the Chaos Orbs moving around. You know, it's just a big freaking hornet's nest, so I was like, yeah, not doing it. Tower of Frost we only did on hard. That's a quest that I've literally only done probably a small handful of times. So we just decided to do it on hard because of the living spells in there. Didn't want to take any chances. We knew that there would be plenty of favor. I also didn't do Reaver's Fate. I felt comfortable doing it. There's no way I would want to lead that and take some others in there who maybe didn't know it as well, and then have them get thrown into the spikes and die. I would have felt terrible. I do not want to be responsible for other people's deaths. So in not wanting to take any chances for others, that's why I skipped it. I was thinking about soloing it, but, you know, that's a 20-minute timed raid, and I know from experience soloing that at level, it takes me like all of that, even on the main server. So I wasn't even confident that I could solo it within the time limit. And again, why take chances if I don't need to? So I skipped Reaver's Fate. Curse the Sky was not skipped intentionally. It's just we never got to it. Didn't need it. Remember, once you're hit 19, you can do 15s on up. So there's a whole bunch of them that we didn't do at this point. But we'll just scroll through and show you that, you know, a bunch of them were done. I'll try to pick out any that were specifically not done. Litany, I didn't end up getting all the sigil pieces. I would have done that. You know, I have no problem doing Search and Rescue or Curse the Sky. Fear Factory, I maybe would have done that, but we didn't need it. I don't do any quests with the word delirium in the title. Lots of beholders. You know, if you want to do them, that's great. I just didn't feel like taking the chance. Creeping Death, I also skipped because I didn't want to take the chance of falling through the platform or off the platform at the beginning and dying, or lagging and hitting the cube, which is also another insta-death. Too many insta-death effects in there. Why take the chance, you know? Again, if you're competing for the leaderboard, well, then you would do that one. But for just getting to 5K, totally not necessary. Stealer of Souls, maybe would have done it on hard, but the thought of those stalactites falling on me during the earth portion of it, that just sounded scary. But you know, the stalactites and I Dream of Jeets on Elite, which even a higher level quest, they were barely touching me, so I was worried about them, but it actually wasn't a big deal at all. I was so worried about it that I asked everybody else in my party to stay out of the little race portion of I Dream of Jeets. I didn't want anybody to die from a stalactite, but I wanted to go in there myself to see like how well would it hold up, and I thought I was going to take a lot more damage from him, and it actually just was doing like 70 damage per stalactite, so it was no big deal at all. It might have been a lot more if I'd like failed to save or something, but it was fine. Soul Survivor was closed. I probably wouldn't have done that anyways. Obviously, you got to skip Shroud because it kills you. I'm just trying to see if there's any. Lord of Eyes, Beholders, purposely didn't do that one, but the rest of them, like, you know, I might have done them, just didn't need them. Mostly just showing you which ones we did. The ones in House Caneth, we did those actually under level on hard because I was trying to get enough Caneth favor to get 50 favor so that I could buy the Marks of House Caneth for crafting. So I could add the extra slots to my craftables. So that's why we just did these on hard, and we did them fairly under level. But it was no problem to do those. I think we did them at like level 15 or something. It was no big deal doing them on hard at all. We did IQ 1 and 2. Yeah, and so those are the quests that I did. So I was really happy. We might have been 14. I was really happy to finally be able to try out the Voodu Warlock build in hardcore. I was exceptionally pleased with how it performed. It is highly, highly survivable. At least once you get to 12 and you're switching over to Enlightened Spirit. You know, before then, like I said, you just play a ranged blaster. Once you get to 12 and your Enlightened Spirit, is highly, highly survivable for the rest of Heroics. Saw nothing at that point that even worried me. You know, I ran through a lot of traps. Went against a bunch of mobs and things that I thought might, you know, give me some bigger hits. There was no problem at all. Very, very survivable. It's not a high DPS build, but plenty of DPS for, you know, what most people are going to be doing on hardcore, which, you know, I didn't do anything on Reaper. We're just doing elite questing 4 over level, right? You don't need to have uber DPS for that. So high survivability, enough DPS to get the job done. I would definitely recommend the build for hardcore, and was so happy to be able to finally give it a try.